Okay, everybody, I want to welcome you to Tiburon's Diversity Inclusion Task Force for March 13th, 2024. And Lee, if you could call the roll. Thank you.
Starting with the council, Councilmember Ryan,
Here.
Councilmember Nikvar, Councilmember Wellner is absent, Vice Mayor and Chair Thier,
Here.
and Mayor Fredericks,
Here.
and the at-large members, Karen Carrera,
Here.
Ruben Calra,
Here.
Nushin Latour is absent, and Tina Shaw Pike. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to start by thanking our Chief of Police, who has just handed each of us a Tiburon Police Department shark. So thank you very much for that. And now I would like to, I will take public comment on any matters not on the agenda. Do we have anyone?
Seeing none.
Okay, great. And then now we have now Nushin has just walked in, so that's okay. That's okay. You're on time. We have a presentation by Rabbi Levy about the Jewish festival in July in Tiburon. So if you would like to come up and present.
Where?
Yes.
Did everybody get this? I don't know. No? Was it printed out for everybody?
Do you
Or
want-
got an email?
Do you want us to pass it
I'll
out?
present it like this. It's fine.
Okay,
If
great.
that's okay.
And let me give a better introduction than I just did. Did you want to
I only have
introduce
one copy. I
Ruben?
wasn't sure.
You want me to do it? Okay. Okay. So Rabbi Levy is the Chabad rabbi here in Tiburon and has been doing amazing events and building a lot of community. And there's going to be a cultural festival coming up in July. And he had contacted some members of our task force in order to present today. So we will get everyone a flyer, but if you want to go ahead and
Yeah.
present, that would be great.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, everybody that gathered here today. I appreciate very much the leadership displayed by the town, by the city council, honorary mayor, honorary vice mayor, and all the members of the task force that's doing incredible work in bringing real peace, harmony, togetherness, and community for every single part of our community, and that's what makes our community so special. I was overjoyed to read how in the last meeting or maybe the one before that, the task force is acknowledging and bringing forth many new cultural events, and kudos. Just wanted to say thank you for doing all those. And last year we launched the first Tiburon Jewish Festival in the summer. Thank God we had a beautiful success. Right when we actually launched the task force, council member Isaac Nikvar right away offered to volunteer and reached out. It was very touching to see the outpouring of support right away. And we had a beautiful attendance, a beautiful community get together from all people of the community coming together to celebrate, learn, and engage in the Jewish culture, celebrating Jewish culture, Jewish heritage. And as many of you might know, many people of the Jewish community throughout the world feel tremendous pressure due to the rise of anti-Semitism. And we felt that this would address in a positive way this rise in the sense that highlighting the joys of Jewish tradition, the positive aspects of Jewish tradition, the things that are for everybody in the community, to share with them this way that people should know that there's more to Judaism than the fact that we are hated. So we brought that to light. We celebrated a beautiful Sunday afternoon with over 500 people from the community. We had Mayor Fredericks was there and addressed the crowd. Throughout the day, we had people coming, engaging in joyous music, in crafts, activities, different educational programs, the foods, the art displays, and many other aspects of the festival. So we're hoping to be able to launch the second annual Tiburon Jewish Festival. We're looking this year at the date July 21st, Sunday, July 21st, from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And again, at Zelinsky Park, right here behind the town hall. Some of the highlights that we hope to be doing again are challah braiding, candle making, different art vendors, pickle making, Jewish foods, traditional foods. Again, Jewish community comes from all over the world, so there's always different kinds of Jewish foods to highlight. And then, of course, different kinds of family entertainment. We're talking already to a few bands to be able to come and perform by this festival. And we hope to be able to bring the light, the joy of life to the community through music, food, art. And this unity will shine forth in every way possible. So if possible, it would be a big deal if we could have the support of the task force for this beautiful event.
Okay.
Is there other, yeah, okay.
No, go ahead.
If I could present a sort of an overview of the budget, if that's usually what's done over here.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, so based on last year's estimates, the budget from what we're looking at, we're looking at close to $13,000. The activities were 3,770. The music was 4,000, the advertising was 3,000, and the setup was $3,080. So that was the breakdown of last year's. Again, it's pretty much roughly what we're looking at again for this year. And if the task force could help us out with $8,000, that would be a real way of making this happen. And we would commit to getting the rest of the funds.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have questions?
I think it's great we're doing this, and that it was successful last year. Happy to hear that you're planning to conduct it this year. I'm curious how it was funded last year.
Yeah, so last year we stretched ourselves thin. We did go all out by investing our own. We did not realize that this is an opportunity to be able to have the town partner with us. And we really took from our resources from areas that from our own and we invested in it. And God willing, it was a long-term investment that will bring this beautiful cultural event to town. We also did have community business partnering for a few $1,000s, about $3,000 or $4,000 that businesses, we asked them to be corporate sponsors and they chipped in on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have other questions?
Yeah.
Nushin, go ahead.
Hi, this sounds great. I wish I was here last July. I didn't know about it, actually.
All right.
I was just curious, so was the summer okay? You felt like, because I know a lot of people leave town, and I was just curious how you guys did the marketing communications.
Yeah, we had a big turnout. We were worried as well. We weren't sure how it would turn out, but we ended up, I guess people are here and some people are away, but there's enough to make it a memorable day. Definitely. Yeah.
Yes, no one asked me, but having been there, I can tell you there was a great turnout.
Hey, Ruben.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you last Monday, getting to know your background and your vision of kindness and peace, which we need more than ever. I think you gave me some stats. How many Jewish folks are in Marin? It's a lot, 7,000?
In Marin?
Yeah, it's 35,000, I think you said.
I think close to 35,000. Yeah. Yeah.
Relatively large population.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. And, thank God we're relatively safe over here. People have always reached out to me expressing how when there were the small incidents that did come across the police department, and thank you, Chief, the police department has been extremely, they took the matter very seriously. They stepped up to the plate, and we appreciate that very much. Of course, we're lucky and special to have such a loving, caring community. And we do believe that the world is a beautiful garden. The world at large and every single person, we believe, want to make this world a beautiful garden that it is. And we just have to do our parts that will facilitate that and bring it to light. So hopefully this is our small part as a town to bring to light the beautiful garden that the world is.
Do we have other discussion, comments?
Yeah, I also just wanted to echo, I think, and just say thank you and for your organization for putting this event together. I think it's really important for events like this to bring the community together and to learn about other cultures. So I'm really glad that we're putting this on. I'm glad you decided to come back for a second one after doing the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have other folks that would like to talk about this? Okay, I think it's a great idea. I really think, especially now, it would be really lovely to see the celebration of Jewish culture. And I think this is actually on for as a presentation. So I think we can talk about budget items. But we can't take like a specific action, but if people want to talk about it, I think it's a great idea to fund. I would be in support of funding up to $8,000. We can't actually vote, and so I'd love to hear other people's comments, and those comments might be enough to bring it to the town council for a vote.
So I have a general question. Where is this committee in the process of putting together a budget? We really don't have a budget yet, an overall budget. So what would the process be to bring it to the council in an appropriate way for a Brown Act committee?
Well, I would, excuse me, Mayor Fredericks, the Diversity Task Force does have a line item budget in the fiscal year 24 operating budget, but I'll remind council and the task force that we had an item just last week at the council meeting, which required a budget amendment because the budget's actually overexpended. So I just wanted to clarify that there is a line item budget, and in this year's budget, I believe it was $20,000, which has now been amended by the council at last week's meeting to add about 6,000, I think. So.
Yeah, and I do think we've been going event by event with the
Yeah.
council. I don't think we started out with a budget for all events for the year. So that would be consistent. Just to explain to you, Rabbi Levy, our diversity inclusion task force does not hold the budget strings. We make a recommendation to the town council, and then the town council votes on it.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're talking about right now.
So I have another process question, which is basically how the recommendations come to the council. Do they have to come after being listed as an action item on the DITF agenda?
Yes. Oops. So, I think the recommendation here could be that at some point we bring this item back and you can discuss whether the DTIF wants to consider the $8,000 grant, and then that could, you recommend the council, provide that money or not, whatever you land on, and then it goes to the council and they can decide. So we can't make that decision today because it was not agendized as that kind of action item. So it can be agendized properly at a later meeting next month or whenever, you see fit.
And thankfully, July is many
bring it
months away.
I just have a question, because I have a copy of the strategic plan, and the strategic plan that we adopted or that was adopted by the town council says under community engagement, 40,000 annually, but I don't know if we've already, how does that play into this? How many events have we already had for the year? Have we used up that budget?
Well, again, the strategic plan was adopted after the council approved the current, let me back up. The town's fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. Council adopts a budget at the end of June for the forward-looking 12 months. That budget for the diversity task force this fiscal year, I believe, was $20,000 and was amended last week by council to add 6,000 something to cover the cost of the Asian Pacific Islander event that was approved, recommended by this body, approved by the council. The $40,000 figure in the strategic plan, at least it was always my assumption, was that that would be proposed in the next year's fiscal year budget that council will be considering May and June of this year for next year.
It also, the event that I think that's being proposed is in the 2025 fiscal year. So it wouldn't be part of this year's budget.
Anyway, okay,
anyway. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Right,
Excellent
so
point.
actually it could be taken out of the 40,000,
Okay,
assuming the council. I mean,
I-
assuming that stays in the budget.
I mean, I think maybe we could we should, I think the $8,000, I think it's a good idea. So I think we should try to agendize this for a future meeting so that we can actually vote on it and hopefully take some action.
yeah, especially since we have all those other events, like, right, that are the Juneteenth and Nowruz and that we've
So-
approved. Or
So
how-
three out of four of those will happen in this fiscal year. Diwali is the only one that happens in the next fiscal year. But if we're allocating 40,000, we essentially said we would fund 4 events for a year. This would be a 5th event if we were to repeat all of the other
That's what I
ones.
remember.
I would just like to say, if we want to discuss the budget, we should bring that item back. So it's, properly in the agenda, because I think the discussion's kind of going too much into the weeds of the agenda or the budget. So we could bring it back next month. So I think. we
Budget
can
next month.
Now, who
include
let the
this.
attorney in the room? Okay, so we will put this on the agenda for next month. And I really want to thank you for
Thank you.
coming. And last year I was in Italy, or I would have been there. And this year, hopefully I will be here. So anyway, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
So we'll see you next month.
No.
If you're. Okay, so now we are gonna move on.
I just had a quick question. Do we have anyone on the Zoom call, or is it empty?
No members of the public.
The Zoom call is empty?
The only person that's on is Francisco,
Okay, all right.
getting it back up.
Hi, Francisco. Did you want to speak? Okay, we are moving on to the action item, A1, operating model. Consider approval of diversity inclusion task force operating model. I am going to ask for public comment first. Is there any public comment?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none, I believe Tina is going to do this one.
So the at-large members of the task force, including Karen Rubin Nushin and myself, discussed a recommendation to begin executing against the strategic plan so we could actually accomplish what we have laid out. And we wanted to make this particular recommendation in order to both engage the community as well as just organize some of our meeting agendas going forward. So the recommendation that we're making is that based on the strategic plan, we align work streams and form subcommittees with the 3 major areas in the strategic plan, which are the police department and policing analysis, the town staffing policies and practices, and then DEI-centered community engagement and education, which would of course cover the kinds of events that we were just talking about. We have recommended that each of us at-large members leads one of those subcommittees. So Karen Herrera leading the police department and policing, myself leading the town staffing policies and practices, and Ruben leading the DEI-centered community engagement and education. And we'd like to recommend that at each of the DITF DITF meetings, that there's a standing agenda item for each of those subcommittee reports. And in addition to that, because communications really sits across all of those areas, Nushin has offered to provide a standing agenda item for communications, so that we're really making the community aware of all the things that we're doing and engaging them in the best way. So that's the first part of the recommendation. The second part is just around soliciting broader community engagement. And one of the things that we have been pretty good about doing in the community and cultural events is soliciting volunteers to help put those events on. And we'd like to involve those residents of Tiburon and broader Marin in these meetings. And they've, already volunteered, in addition to the ones they've done in the past, volunteered to lead the upcoming events. In addition to that, we'd like to ask them to serve on these subcommittees along with any other town council member that's interested in serving on the subcommittee. We know that meetings have been an issue and that we'd like to recommend that these volunteers actually attend these meetings so we can increase participation in the meetings. And in the past, we've had a lot of community participation through the Zoom, and so we'll talk about our recommendation there in just a minute, but we'd like for the subcommittees to conduct their business in this particular meeting so that they can be engaged in some of the decisions that we're making on behalf of the diversity of the town. And I think this also, we agreed that would increase the community participation in this meeting overall, which I know we've been looking to do ever since we moved away from the Zoom format. And then the last part of the recommendation is on meeting time and format. We know that that's been a challenge in the past. We know that the in-person format is required because it's a Brown Council, because of the Brown Act. And however, both attendance at this meeting has been low ever since it's been in person. And one of the issues is that 5 PM is too early for some folks who work outside of Tiburon to actually make it here in person. And we know that that's a problem, not just for this meeting, but probably other related meetings as well. In terms of the Zoom format during the pandemic, participation by community members was pretty high because we were all on Zoom together. And I think, dialing in on Zoom feels very different here than when we were all on the screen together. So I'll just kind of leave that as a thought to consider in terms of how are we orchestrating the Zoom for the meetings. And then the last thing I'll say is that 5 PM works best for those who have small children, and it also, the Zoom works better for those who have heavy travel schedules. So I know we have limitations in terms of how we meet as a group because of the Brown Act, but the recommendation is if we could revert back to the 5 PM by Zoom, we think we would increase participation. So those are the three big components in terms of subcommittees, how we engage volunteers in the community on those subcommittees, and then meeting time and format.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think Karen, you wanted to add something to that?
Only that my name is Carrera, not
Or
Herrera.
forgive me.
Okay, that's all.
So I have some questions. Is that where we're going?
Sure.
So explain to me a little what the subcommittee for the police department would be doing, since there's already a community committee dealing with these issues directly with the police department. I mean, it'd be great to have reports from Karen who's involved, but what would the subcommittee of the DITF do?
Want me to take that? Okay, so I have to ask that that we refer back to the strategic plan again. So the strategic plan talks about that we shall work for bias-free policing, including analysis of the RIPA data. So that would require that I work with the police department, which I kind of already do since I'm also on the Citizens Advisory Panel. But one of the things that I'm going to do is also try to do an analysis of the RIPA data and kind of come up with a report of really doing a deep dive and analysis of what the RIPA data shows for Tiburon.
And this is something different than the community group that works with the police department. They
Right.
just report on the RIPA data,
Right.
RIPA data rather than analyze it.
Well, yeah, when we do with the Citizens Advisory Panel
Yeah.
is my understanding, and please, chime in on this, chief, but, the chief sets the agenda for what we are gonna talk about and but it's usually issues that she wants advice on, right? And, or issues that have come up. Isn't that right?
Correct. Yeah, we're working on some policies and procedures. We're working on a pledge for bias-free policing that each officer is going to pledge to and sign, and it'll be kept in their personnel file. Lots of things we've been working on, and hopefully in the next month or two, I'll be able to update all of you on the specifics of what we've been working on.
Yeah, whereas with this subcommittee, as you know, when we were working on the strategic plan, you were on that subcommittee, Alice, or Mayor Fredericks, and Alice. And so that's one of the prongs, right? Creating a bias-free policing, and that's and so I'd be working on that prong, also working with the chief, but specifically to analyze the RIPA data.
Okay.
And yeah,
I know that's a very controversial issue, how to analyze it. It's not as though it's never been analyzed.
right. Other towns and cities have analyzed it. And in fact, I just pulled up the 2024 RIPA report from the, from the people that drafted. I mean, I can't remember. It's the,
But that'll be
Anyway.
good. I mean, basically, the subcommittee will report
Right.
that kind of information back to this committee. Is that what you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I think that answers my question, Karen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And then my next question has to do with staffing policies and practices. And basically, what is that committee going to do? Review the practices and policies of the town staffing?
No, this goes back to, that's the language we include in the strategic plan, but the initiative that we recommended was conducting a training for the town staff and police department and if possible, the commissions.
All right, and we would be doing this knowing that basically the decisions for staffing are guided by the policies of the council, but they're actually delegated to the town manager.
That's right. The only initiative in the strategic plan is to conduct a training.
All right, and rather than conducting the training, will the subcommittee be looking at training and the effect of it and what's?
Yes, that would be the work of the subcommittee, is to establish what is the goal of the training, who's best positioned to deliver the training, making a decision on an RFP in partnership with the town manager as well as the police chief, and assessing the effectiveness of the outcomes.
So defining the goals and assessing, right? And I have been just reading extensively on this, and I hope that as part of this, rather than individual goals and individual self-reported changes, we'll be talking about systemic kinds of things long-term, because you did bring that up in the past. I think that's very important. Okay, and as for the community engagement, I think this is where we grab the hearts as well as the minds. So there's no questions about that.
Okay, thank you. Do we have more questions about these establishing the subcommittees?
I do want to add that if you look back at the strategic plan under developing the third prong, which is developing diverse and inclusive staffing policies and practices, it's not just the training, even though the training is a huge component of it, it's also developing, like, for instance, it says the police department should recruit and build a diverse talent pool, which they already are doing. And this includes creating a diverse pool of candidates, mitigating biases, recruiting a police force that is demographically reflective of the communities it serves, and And so I just wanted to add that's also part of what we're trying to do with that prong, that subcommittee that Tina is going to chair.
Okay, great. Any more follow-up on that, Mayor Fredericks? Or, okay,
Ask one
Yeah.
quick question.
yes, please
So
go
just
ahead.
about reporting on like section 1C, on our council agendas, we have sections that are, say, council member reports. So for example, if I go to an RBRA meeting and there's something news that I should deliver, that's when I do it. But it's sort of it's a standing item, but it's also, it's on an ad hoc basis. Is that what you have in mind? Because I just worry that like some of these things are long-term things and there might be periods where nothing happens. Are you envisioning that for the reporting, or is it like, no, everyone has to say something kind of thing? Or I didn't know what you had.
I think that reporting, for reporting's sake is not our intention, is that we're just creating space. And if there's no reason to report on a particular committee at any given time, we would just pass.
Thanks.
Great. So I have some input here. I think this is a great idea. I love the idea of using the subcommittees as a way to increase participation. This committee was 100% on Zoom during COVID. And then I believe, Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did not even have our meetings on Zoom for how many months? Like 7?
We have always had meetings on Zoom for this.
But we didn't allow participation via
We have.
Zoom. I thought that when we did the transition after COVID, that for a while, we did not have these meetings publicized.
I'd have to look back, but it was maximum a meeting.
Okay, that we
I
did,
think-
but go ahead.
I had a question about that also, because at the bottom of this, it says Zoom format, but that hasn't changed, right? We've always had a Zoom component to the meetings
This board.
following COVID.
Correct. This board has always had the option for the public to participate by Zoom.
Right.
To the chair's point, there was a transition period where we were looking for council direction to which lower boards is what we call them, anything other than council, to include. There may have been maybe a meeting, but it was certainly on an extended period.
Right.
Okay, I thought it was about 3 months from my memory, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think
Yeah.
it's really, really important that's really clear to everyone in public, that they have the ability, they've always had the ability to join via Zoom. And so we have an early time, which is 5 PM. It's always been an option, always been available. And so I'm not sure what changing the format is gonna do, or us all going to Zoom is gonna do in terms of getting other people to show up to a Zoom meeting, which has never changed. It's always been at 5 PM, you can just log on via Zoom.
Wait,
Wait,
It's
I-
I'm a little confused by this section.
there is I was confused about this section too. I thought it referred to the whole DITF meeting by Zoom, which is not workable under
Right.
the Brown Act. But what is always been possible is for the public to participate by Zoom, and that will continue. That's my understanding.
And that's the case for
Works.
all Brown Act bodies, is it in Tiburon, is you're able to join via Zoom for any of the meetings. So for parks, for town council, you can, if you're a member of the public, you can join via Zoom for any of these Brown Act bodies.
Yes, but this
correct.
paragraph is referring to
The
the
ad hoc committees.
committee, it's the DITF itself meeting by Zoom the way it did during COVID. And
Okay.
so it was confusing.
Okay, I thought the paragraph was referring more to the ad hoc or
No idea.
Committees.
subcommittees. So that this body under the Brown Act cannot operate 100% via Zoom, which I think is what our town council was going
Was
to
trying to say,
was
yeah.
trying to say.
So, you have, we had the COVID rules because of COVID and they've sunsetted, and now we have to have a quorum in person. There are situations where individual members can be remote, under specific reasons. We could have the old Brown Act rules, which is there's a quorum from locations within the town boundaries, but it sounds like that, we could look into that for this board, but I think, a quorum has to be in person ultimately. And that is,
Okay.
this is part of what it means to be a Brown Act body.
Okay,
having-
and so my only point with, there was a time period when people could not get into these meetings via Zoom. And I believe that that decreased participation. I do believe we need to do everything we can to increase it. And I think these subcommittees are a great idea. I also think that before the next meeting, I'd like to put out something on Tip Talk, maybe do a little article so that people are aware that they can come and participate. That might help. But I had read this plan as these meeting times and formats were directed towards the subcommittees. But do we have more comment on this? Anyone? Okay.
Oh, I just want to
So-
say, and we think that the communications part, which Nushin is going to work on, is going to increase participation, as well as having the subcommittees will increase participation, because we're going to try to get volunteers to be on these subcommittees. But I think you're right, like when we wrote this, we didn't know that it couldn't be, that it had to be in person, with a quorum
Oh,
of
okay.
in
Well,
person. But now I get it. Now we get it.
An additional clarification, the subcommittees themselves can meet by Zoom.
So
Yeah.
yes, I wanted to make sure that, the subcommittees we create today, it's up to you if you want them to be
Okay.
standing subcommittees or ad hoc. If it's a standing subcommittee, it is a Brown Act body, in which case you would have to have the rules about meeting, quorum meeting in person. If it's ad hoc, as long as we have limited task or a limited duration. So we say, we'll revisit this subcommittee in 6 months, or we say, that this subcommittee is tasked with providing 10 recommendations to the DTIF. And once the committee has provided 10 recommendations, then it, dissolves sort of automatically. So whatever you decide on how you want to do it, know that if you're creating a subcommittee that has continuing jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, then it is a standing subcommittee, in which case the Brown Act applies to that standing subcommittee.
So you could address that by saying that the job of the ad hoc committee is to provide 2004 recommendations to the committee, which would, give it
As long as we have a limited task that has a timeline that would, will expire, like 2024, will be done at some point, you could move forward with it as an ad hoc committee.
Okay, but we have ad hoc committees at the town council that do not have a date certain that they terminate. So I don't know why. I mean, I understand the focus and the job that it's supposed to do. Do you have to have a date certain that it sunsets, or it can go by the
You would,
past?
you'd revisit it. So exactly. So,
By the
by 2024, task is always a good way to limit the
Perfect.
jurisdiction of a subcommittee and
Okay,
and keep it
okay,
ad hoc.
so I think at this point, we're gonna need a motion. Because this is an action item. So,
Wait, just
I
point
can
of
make-
clarification between standing and ad hoc. You said the standing is subject to the Brown Act, but there's no need to have a standing committee, correct? I mean, we can do ad hoc and that's
Yes.
fine.
It's up to you, exactly. If you
Okay.
if you want a standing committee and that you're creating a Brown Act body, and a standing committee is just, basically continuing subject matter jurisdiction. You have a consistent meeting time, and meeting place every week or month or whatever it is. So you're not required to create a standing subcommittee.
And what do you mean by subject matter jurisdiction? I mean, I know what that means under Penoyer versus Neff. I mean, in the law, but I mean, what do you mean by it here?
So it would be, well, something like this a little bit is, is a board that has the continuing subject matter jurisdiction of the diversity inclusion task force. And it's just kind of an endless, it exists as long as it exists.
Okay.
And so here we would just if you want to create an ad hoc, you would limit it by the task. And in this case, the task is to provide analysis of like, RIPA data or something like
Okay,
that, or,
got it. All right, thank you.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, unless someone else wants to make the motion.
Why don't
I would like to move that we form 3 subcommittees. One is Police Department and Policing Analysis, Town Staffing Policies and Practices Analysis, DE&I Center, Community Engagement and Education, according to the, what is this
plan.
attachment, Lee? According to the, printout of the operating model dated March 3rd, 2023, attached to the agenda.
I don't want to amend that for you, but instead of calling them subcommittees, which makes them Brown Act committees, you might want to call them ad hoc committees.
That's a great point, so that we're clear that they are ad hoc committees.
I would
So I will say
also-
ad hoc committees.
that was going to be one of my recommendations. I would also, just for the record, to sort of have it in the record, I would define the task of this, it doesn't have to be, I would be clear about that.
Okay, I will read the
Um,
task.
Or
So-
whatever, you've decided. Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is now amended to Police Department and Policing Analysis, including bias-free policing and bias-free reports from the Police Department, Town Staffing Policies and Practices Analysis, including recruitment, hiring, talent development, and promotion as it relates to diversity and inclusion. DE&I Centered Community Engagement and Education, including cultural events. I would also like to, yeah, that's the motion.
Oh, I'll second that.
Hey, do we need can we just do a regular vote? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Okay, great.
And thank you
Thank you. Yeah,
to Tina.
yes.
Do
Okay,
we need to do a motion for the subcommittee leaders or?
that's what I was wondering. I don't know. Can we just move by acclamation that the leaders will be the leaders?
Okay.
Why don't I do another motion?
Yeah, it would
That-
be.
That Karen Herrera be.
Carrera.
Why did I say it? Why did I say it? Oh, my God.
Tina's fault.
Like, I've known your name for 30 years, even though I'm only 29. All right. So my motion is to assign the following ad hoc committee leaders to the Police Department and Policing Analysis, Karen Carrera, to Town Staffing Policies and Procedures, Tina Pikeday, to DE&I Center of Community Engagement and Education, Ruben Kalra, and to Communications, it would be Newsham.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition or abstention? No. Okay, we are going to move on quickly because we have a time limit here for the room. I'm going to move on to discussion items and ask if there's any public comment on discussion regarding the Diversity Inclusion Task Force Chair.
Being done.
Vice
Okay,
Chair.
great. Vice Chair, yes, Vice Chair. So at this point, the town council wanted to put this on the agenda because the vice chair can actually come either from a council, can actually be a council member or a community member. So the point of the item on tonight's agenda is to solicit input on who might want to serve as vice chair of this committee and then bring those names back to the town council. So if anyone's interested, they can say they're interested.
Well, listen, I can't talk for someone else, but we just got a great operating model all organized from one of our members whom I will not mention until she says, gee, I'm interested.
Happy to serve in that respect.
Okay, now, do we have other people that are interested?
Yes, I'd be interested as well.
Okay, do we have anyone else who's interested? I know this is always a little bit awkward, but I would encourage anyone interested to put their name out there because
So I was originally interested, but I guess I'll say the same thing I said at the town council meeting, which is now that we have the ability to get more engagement and more participation from members at large, I think it's a good idea to do that. So I'll while I was originally interested, I think I would love to see a deeper engagement from our members at large.
I guess we're all interested.
You mean you're gonna make us do it?
Okay,
Jeez.
is everyone is interested? Yes?
Mhm.
Nushin? That's a yes. Okay,
Yeah, we should all.
for yourself.
Everybody can be a vice.
No, we're asking for,
One person.
nominate,
But the-
for, you know,
Can you?
I nominate Nushin. In
okay,
addition, and myself.
Let's make it a little awkward.
so you were nominated. So what I want to ask is, would you like your name to go forward to the town council as a potential vice chair for the Diversity Inclusion Task Force? Are you interested in being a vice chair? Okay, okay.
So I have a question. Is this group going to vote on a recommendation for town council, or is everyone that's interested, are all those names, like just sort of process wise, are all those names going to town council?
So all of the names will go to town council. This body, unfortunately cannot vote on it. It's the way this, is set up. It has to be voted on by the town council.
That makes
So-
sense, but that doesn't preclude this body from making a recommendation to town council.
Because that's what they're empowered to do.
Right.
We can, but, it's a discussion item. We can't actually vote, but this was put on as a discussion item. And I don't know, yeah. So anyway, so that, is there more discussion? Do people want to talk about it?
Had one question, which is my understanding is the role of the vice chair is to run the meetings in the absence of the chair. Is there any other specific role of the vice chair?
I think assisting with the agenda.
Yes.
Good.
And I think it's terrific that the council reached out to try to get at-large members as the vice chair, because I think it to the community, it shows some increased transparency and accountability, and I think it's terrific. So
Yeah, well, I was one of the people who really felt that the chair position should be open to the community too, but that's not the way this was formed. This committee was formed. Task force was formed.
Yes, and we share that opinion, Mayor Fredericks. Okay, so is there more discussion about that? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, so I think we already took public comment.
In the
Okay,
beginning.
good. So now I'm going to go to a discussion regarding the application period reopening for the DTIF open seat. And I'll take public comment first if there is any.
Seeing none.
Okay, then I will not have public comment. But I wanted to talk about this because I want to make sure everyone knows that the recruitment period for the Diversity Inclusion Task Force open seat has reopened. That is because part of the time period was during an actual school holiday. So we reopened the application period. And I believe it closes April 4th. Is that correct?
April 5th.
April 5th, okay. But get your applications in by April 4th if you're interested.
Yeah.
So, so is there discussion on that? I would encourage everyone to think about people you know in the community who might be interested. And a lot of times, to join a task force or a commission, it takes somebody asking you and saying, hey, I think you'd be great for this. We got an opening. So I would encourage everyone to reach out. And I know that our wonderful town clerk has been doing a lot of outreach on that through our website and TikTok and all of our social media. So thank you
How
for
many,
that.
how many applications did we get?
We have 4 applications. The council's interviewed one and the council will interview 3 more next week. And we will continue to schedule interviews as they're received to hopefully get the seat filled as soon as possible.
Thank you.
And they apply through the website?
All the information is on the website, but
Okay.
the way that they apply is they'll have to submit an application, and it is a special application available on the website. A resume is not required, but the council usually appreciates seeing one. But it's really just the application submitted to me.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
And would you mind sending the application and the information along to each of the members of the task force so that they can
Sure.
forward it to people they might know?
Sure.
Yeah. that's
Okay, great.
I just had one question as well. I saw the one application on the town council agenda last week. Were the other 3 applications available to us as well?
They're not posted yet because they haven't been interviewed yet.
Okay, so at the next town council meeting?
Yes, they'll be posted later this week.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anything else? If not, I want to,
I make a plug for
yes, you can. Please go ahead.
Spring has come upon us very quickly this year. The Nowruz Festival is March 30th. We try to make it after the school play. Bel Air School Play is all next weekend. It's gonna be a frenzy. So Saturday, it's Zelensky. We're starting to do the marketing. Hopefully many of you can attend 3 to 5 p.m., March 30th.
Great.
New lineup, dancers, music, food vendors.
And that is March 30th.
March
at
30th,
3
Saturday.
o'clock Zelensky Park, which is right
Exactly.
behind town.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fantastic. And thank you for your work on that.
Not impressions here, but-
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, everybody. Thank you
you.
so much.
I mean, I realize there's no one else but me.
No, I did do that. Yes, I did. It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. I did do it at the beginning. I did it fast.
Sorry about that.
Okay. No, you're good. Thank you for keeping us together.